Hello and welcome to the Idiot Book Nook. My name is Blazewing. My pronouns are they, them.
I am the reading dragon, and my pronouns are she, her.
And I'm Grisha. My pronouns are she, her, they, them. Today's her day.
Meow.
We're doing an episode of Tongues, Tangents, and Titillations today. At some point, we will eventually get back to our book, which I am looking forward to because I kind of want to know what happens. But if you'd like to follow us on social media, you can do so at linktr.ee/idiotbooknook or idiot dash. Is it all one word?
I think so.
Yeah, / idiot book nook or idiot dash book dash nook. It's one of the two. I can't remember. My brain's not working this morning. My apologies.
It'll be in the descriptions.
Somewhere's around there, yeah.
Follow the links.
Yeah, you're basically go look at the fucking show notes because my brain's not working this morning.
I ran out of beds.
So my two co-hosts here have no idea what we're talking about today. And I want you guys, just for a moment, to harken back to, or kind of go back, put your mind back in Sunday for a second, because this is what spawned this whole topic.
Oh, yeah.
So on Sundays, in my Discord, we play Vampire the Masquerade, and we do it live for anybody in the Discord who wants to watch. I also have a writing team, and we figured out something rather devious for our players that kind of threw the players for a loop.
Fuck you.
So to catch you guys up, our coterie members, because that's what our group is called in Vampire the Masquerade,
The coterie of tomfuckery.
they were embraced, which is basically made into a vampire. They found themselves in Edmonton, right?
Mm-hmm.
With no knowledge of who they are, where they were from, or what was going on. They woke up in a cement room.
We're already starting off great.
They ran into, or they met Father Douglas, one of the local priests for
Daddy Dougie.
Yeah, for one of the churches here, who became a pretty. He became pretty well known to them, or at least, he wanted to help them.
Well liked.
He wanted to help them a little bit. He had nothing but good intentions. He didn't really see them as evil. He saw them as unfortunate victims of circumstance, and he wanted to help them because of that.
He was polite and useful human.
Correct.
And we would not be going through the trouble that we are currently going through if we did not like him.
Critter. Channeling Val there for a moment, are we?
Maybe. She's always with me, y'all.
So, at the end of chapter 1, because I think that's what I'm calling it now instead of seasons, I like chapters better, and this may continue to evolve and change as time goes on, so don't put any stock in this, but part 1 of this story. At the end, our coterie ended up moving to Jasper.
Mm-hmm.
Where they were rendered unconscious at one point at the end of that part. So part 2 picks up. They wake up and everybody's gone. Their humans are gone. Anybody they knew is gone. Up to and including when they managed to find him, or when they managed to make their way back to the church, Father Douglas is also gone. Which, by the way, I actually just finished rendering off that episode, so that episode is now good to go.
Yay.
So they're now on a hunt and searching for Father Douglas, but they had to figure out where to go.
Yeah.
Through shenanigans and bullshittery, they eventually found out that Father Douglas got taken to Europe somewhere. They're not sure by who, they're not sure where.
Why are you stealing our man from us?
They decided to cross the Atlantic Ocean and go in search of him.
We haven't finished crossing yet.
You just finished.
Ever.
Oh.
Worst cruise ever.
Yeah, worst cruise ever.
Which brings us to the cruise. They thought they were getting a nice, relaxing vacation. Top tier fucking quarters, all access pass to the ship. Yeah, no, I tortured them.
Yeah.
Al is getting tired of getting staked.
Mm-hmm.
It's expensive wardrobe that you keep ruining.
Yeah. And
Let's sew that shit back up. It's ruined.
To give a bit of background for the cruise, they got on the cruise. It was Lost Boys themed because I wanted to play with that a bit and I wanted to paint a picture of that.
He is getting sick and tired of the bullshit in general.
I wanted to paint a picture of what a Lost Boys cruise would look like, so I set that up. They decided to go shopping. Shortly after, oddly, the Corgi got somebody fired, the ship stopped moving, and the power went out, and they found something not exactly right as the La Sombras showed up. La Sombras are the kindred who basically control shadows.
Yay.
And the La Sombra was like, here's your friend. If you want out of this situation, I've got a bomb in here. You're going to have to get the key to turn off the bomb. Problem is, the key's inside of your friend. So I put them through a whole Saw episode, which was great, by the way. That was gorgeous. After that, we ended up finding out they also happened to be on the ship with, I think it was 3? Garu, which is basically werewolves.
Mm-hmm.
Which brings that's pretty much our most recent episode. And I'm wondering if either of you would like to just give a quick recap as to what happened last episode. Because, I mean, I'll be asking you to do this again on Sunday. But for the sake of this podcast...
Essentially,
Shit's fucked.
yeah. We thought, all right, we've dealt with the Sombra and all that, but then, werewolves apparently show up, and
That was fucking horrendous.
and we all get, because, we decide that we're going to stay where we are. We're not going to panic. We're going to group together. We're going to think this out.
We're gonna fight our way through if we have to.
Yeah, I was ready to make, like, a weapon out of a silver fork and a pole if I had to.
Yeah.
But no, that wasn't fast enough. No, instead we got pulled by shadows through the fucking floor.
We got quicksand.
Yeah, and my character fumbled her roll like you would not believe.
Yeah. Oh my fuck yeah.
And yeah, and when she got pulled, the description was not awesome. And then the one person who was on the other side of where we got pulled through was greeted by my necklace and ashes falling through the ceiling.
Yeah.
So for a solid 20 minutes, we did not know if I was really dead or not.
Exactly.
Out of every one of our players that I expected to die, you were not one of them. I'm not gonna lie, you are the only player that stood a chance of fighting against that. We intentionally made the rolls next to impossible.
Yeah. For those of you who don't know, I got some special permissions, with the price of having some holes in memories and stuff like that. Val's character is considerably old, and I have a dice pool like nobody's business. I should have been able to pull that off, but no,
Please.
we rolled mostly ones that night.
One second. For a bit of background, when was your character born?
I think we guessed 900.
Somewhere around there. So
yeah.
Val, who's played by Critter, is fairly old. Is a fifth. For those of you who play Vampire the Masquerade, Val is a 5th generation kindred.
Actually, 4th.
Your character sheet says 5th.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I need to change that then. Because her sire is 3rd generation.
We can talk about that. We'll negotiate that. Yes, Dragon.
Val is the Xanoth of VTM.
You're not wrong. So none of them saw this coming. And
nope.
The writers actually had not planned to dust the characters like that. That was an improv thing because I faced you with a problem and you guys took forever to leave the quarters. You sat there talking it out. Meanwhile, we have a limited amount of time in which to do session. So, we improv'd it. We also wanted to focus on Audley a little bit, because Audley, played by, for those of you who know her, Marley Wins, also known as Marley, she plays a gangrel. And for most of the sessions, she has been sitting and just storing her experience points. She hasn't actually leveled up. But prior to this last session, Marley decided to dump all of her experience points into level up skills, which gave her a massive power boost all at once instead of slowly over the course of time. And we wanted to highlight that. We wanted to showcase that, and we wanted to spotlight her. We wanted to show her gaining these abilities narratively.
Mm-hmm.
So it actually all worked out. Whereas I left most of my players hanging. I talked with them beforehand, because I do kind of... reason I show up an hour before session is I want to give you guys time to just sit and chat and, hang out with one another. But I also want to go over any pre-game stuff that I have to. It gives me time to make my announcements and do my housekeeping off stage away from everyone else.
Mm-hmm.
And I went over with most of my players. Critter.
Y'all, Sunday is busy day.
I know, I'm bugging. I went over with most of my players that this highlighting, this spotlighting was going to be a thing, just so they didn't feel left out. Like, so they knew something was coming, but they didn't know what.
Mm-hmm.
So, narratively, Audley, locked in a room with this werewolf, literally just eviscerated the thing as her beast got pissed off and took charge and gave her a bunch of new stuff. It was like, I'm fucking done playing. Here you go. Have fun. Before just absolutely cutting this thing to ribbons, right? Now keep in mind, VTM is a social horror game, and it is very strong emphasis with me on the horror. I love leaning into those horror aspects, and I'm starting to experiment with that. Season 2, Chapter 2, Part 2, whatever you want, the end of that, was the first of me experimenting with that. Didn't go as well as I'd planned. Still went, and I'm taking that and I'm improving with it. The Saw episode went so much better.
Mm-hmm.
As did the Garu episode. That being said, I am curious to know, with that background and that knowledge, from a storyteller's perspective, what your guys' thoughts are for those mechanics, for the elements that I'm kind of trying to blend together, the story that we're all weaving together, because you guys are players, yes, but you guys are also helping to world build. You guys are also storytellers in their own right. Each player has something unique to add to this story. And without the players, this story does not exist.
Right.
I'm curious to know what your guys' thoughts are.
So you mentioned that you had to do a bit of an improv moment because we were just kind of overthinking things.
Yes.
So there was an instance with the Megalodonia campaign where even though there were like different paths you guys were taking and whatnot, I still had something for you guys kind of lined up because I know how overthinkers work. Me being an overthinker.
You don't say.
So, yeah. So what I had done in that, like before that session happened, I just let myself overthink everything and plan for every single fucking scenario that could happen for that whole bit and planned shit for whatever happened, including sitting and overthinking shit. So I would say for future reference, so that way your guys are not having to do like improv stuff, allow the overthinking to happen during the planning sessions and the writing sessions, so that way you guys can have every single thing covered, including the moments where the coterie sits and overthinks.
So here's the problem with that.
Uh-huh.
The writing room, unfortunately, has limited time due to conflicting schedules. We have people who will show up some weeks. We have people who will not show up some weeks. As a matter of fact, we had somebody in the writing room that I have actually just taken the tag away from because they haven't shown up in weeks. They haven't shown up since you guys were at the Holy Spirits.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I have removed that tag from them because they haven't been putting in the work. It's mostly Ocean and I. And then
Don't
other
you
people.
guys have like an idea board chat?
We do have a text chat, we have a voice chat. However, the writing room has limited time when we are together. It's a lot easier to spitball ideas in real time in a voice chat than it is to spitball ideas in a text chat, because by the time somebody responds to your idea, you may have lost that initial thought. And that is a huge thing when it comes to ADHD. It's just you lose that fucking brain weasel, right?
Yeah. Or the motivation
So
behind it.
because of that limited amount of time, we have time to come up with ideas, with points that we want to hit, but we don't always have time to finesse that. We don't always have time to get into the minor details, you know, how we want to actually paint the scene intricately. So what we do right now is we come up with we spitball the major ideas. I write them down. And this is why I've had Ocean behind the scenes in the chat, helping me run things and tweaking minor details as we go, because Ocean and I work really well for Storytellers together. We've, as far as I'm aware, we've done better with him just kind of sitting off to the side and behind the scenes than we have with him actually in the scene. That being said, the improv thing seems to be working at the moment. The improv gives me a little more flexibility. The problem with planning everything out in intricate detail is there is a variable that you cannot plan for when it comes to this kind of live storytelling in a TTRPG setting.
Oh, yeah.
Do you know what that is?
The unpredictability of everyone else.
The unpredictability of your players you cannot plan for.
Exactly.
Because as much as you come up with solutions or you come up with ideas or you might consider options, I guarantee you that 9 times out of 10, your players are going to do something that you had not accounted for.
Exactly. And that's what normally happens as a storyteller or a DM in any TTRPG setting that you try to plan for. Which, again, going back to what I did, while it wasn't like super intricate detail, I at least had points that I could work with.
So, for TTRPGs that I run, the improv is better. That being said, it's a mix of having that structure and the improv. If you don't have the structure there, the improv's going to flop. If you don't have the improv there, the structure is going to flop.
Yeah.
They work kind of hand in hand, right? Looking at how I've run things the last 2 sessions, I want to know your guys' intimate thoughts. I want to know what you think, things that could be improved on, things that you think went well. Think of this like almost an extended feedback episode. I want to sit here and nitpick because this is basically a storytelling podcast.
Kind of, yeah. Book
And
club, storytelling podcast.
Shit like this can help other people.
So here's my 2 cents now that I'm done putting my face on, for the most part. So I am very much more of the improv kind. While I have a habit of overthinking and overplanning, I have found when it comes to, at least for me and TTRPGs, flying by the seat of my pants seems to work out better. I don't know if it's because it's like a more authentic reaction or what have you. I have found that for me that works as well. I think that so far you've done a pretty good job of balancing structure and improv, because there is only so much you can plan for. Generally speaking, what I did when I DM'd for a group of chaotic and is like, I always knew you guys were gonna fuck my plans. Oh, like guaranteed. So I generally it didn't matter if I used them in this campaign or the next. I had like a short list of backup monsters, basically. Like, so if this one doesn't work out, I have this little pool on the side that's always there. Like you do it once and you cycle them through or whatever. Hello, Spicy Kid. And
Hello.
generally speaking, I found that worked out pretty good. So that way, if one thing, like if I'm about to start and everything's going good, and I'm like, you know what, the thing I had planned, it's not gonna work because they're completely fucking that path already. So here, let's just pull an extra one, and we're doing improv today.
Yeah.
Like I was always ready to have to scrap planned. Like, and very much like not being married to that, because I think sometimes what keeps us from, I think sometimes letting us do that overthinking can also can build its own story.
Yeah.
Let it.
I agree. There are certain times, if you notice during our Sunday sessions, you guys will be sitting, you'll be plotting, you'll be planning how you want to attack a problem that I've set in front of you, or how you want to approach a specific social situation or scenario that I've set you with, that I won't say a word for like 10, 15 minutes at a time. I will literally just let you sit there like
Bullshit.
work through things.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
and I think that's definitely a good thing. I think that's one definitely, I think when it comes to VTM, that's very different from everything else that we've played. Because when it comes to D&D, Pathfinder, whatever, when it comes to deciding your path of action, there's a very defined steps. So we roll our initiatives, we each take our turn, and you have time to think about what you're going to do while the other people do their turn.
Yeah.
Right. And yeah, sometimes you can intervene. You can say like, oh, wait, don't do that. I'm going to be doing that. Right. Whereas VTM, you don't have that. It's very much, whoever gets there first gets it.
Yeah. Basically.
Whoever's closest bites it. Like it's just like, it's very much more fluid. And yeah, I guess in terms of storytelling or like real life situations, it's got more of that real life flow, where you can't hit the boss button and be like, I gotta think. It's like, nope, sorry, no time, you gotta act. And I do think that those aspects are good to have. And it is tricky of finding the balance between when it's appropriate to wait and when it's appropriate to hit the do button. So far, I think you've done a pretty good job of navigating that, especially given all the personalities that you have to work around with. And that's another tricky part is most of like some of us have like hung out or played together, but I think most of us generally, as we have one completely newbie.
Yep, which is Krisha.
Yeah. The rest of us are like old hands, but at a different set of rules,
Yep.
So there's definitely, and most of you, like most of the group, was very unfamiliar with VTM in terms of like a gaming platform.
Yep.
Is the best verbiage I can think of right now.
I think the only other person that had any sort of experience with VTM was myself, but it was with the LARP setting, not the TTRPG setting.
Yeah. And so like it's taken us a bit to like hit that learning curve and hit our groove, but I think we are getting there, and so far you've done a good job of directing us that way without it being like you have to do it this way. That's not what you're doing. You're letting us discover how it works for us while trying to keep us in the constraints of the world you're building. Not easy, but I think you're doing it.
Speaking of hitting the groove, I'm going to have to take a look at them. Up until now, for a lot of our episodes, they have been very heavily edited. At least what I've been putting out has been somewhat heavily edited with Season 2. That's to get rid of a lot of the dead air, a lot of the boring parts. When I go back and look at them, when I get a chance to go back and look at them, at least from what I can see while we were playing, the last 2 episodes may not actually require much in the way of editing, if any at all.
Yay!
That's really good.
I may just be able to throw them out. We seem to be finding a bit of a flow, which is great.
Yeah, definitely, like, as a group in general. And I think realistically, that's not bad, considering like how you've split up our sessions and everything else. New group coming together and everything else. I think we've done pretty good
Mm-hmm.
in terms of how quickly we've caught on and come together as a group,
Yeah.
especially with such different characters.
Oh, yeah.
It's been definitely interesting. For those of you that don't know and haven't been around, we used to run 2 episodes per night in the Discord. We used to start at around 6:30, and then we'd go for about an hour and a half. We'd take a break, and then we'd come back for another hour and a half to 2 hours. One of the things that I've actually started doing within the last 2 episodes, or within the last 3 episodes, is I've actually cut it down to 1 episode per night, which allows us to which allows the writers to react to the situations that are going on. It allows the players time to contemplate. It gives us a little extra time if we need it for each episode. We're not as rushed, I think. And allows us to tell an overall better story, a story that's more involved. It tends to, at least from where I'm sitting, it allows us to be pulled into the story a bit more.
Yeah.
Yeah. And definitely, especially when we're juggling with, and the way we were doing it before, because not everyone had the same availability, we were missing players more often. So it was very hard to do complete sessions. So I think this way, definitely the newer format, at least, for the moment, I think I see it working out. I'm very curious to see how things are going to develop now. I think you've done a very good job of that too, of keeping us interested in what's going to happen next.
Oh, yeah.
Because that's the thing that can happen sometimes, is campaigns can stagnate.
Look at the Chaos Crew.
Yeah, exactly.
For those of you that don't know, the Chaos Crew is one of the sandbox D&D sessions, D&D campaigns that I started, literally just to stave off pandemic boredom and lockdown boredom. We've been going now for 3 years, but that campaign has grown stagnant. So we're going to have, what we're looking at is we're going to have 1 more session. It's going to be a role play session. We're going to bring the campaign to a conclusion, which is what we've all decided, and then we're going to work on a new project, which will also be live in the Discord as well.
Oh, that'll be fun.
What are your thoughts, Dragon?
It's hard to think right now. Sorry, I ran out of meds.
Okay,
and I've discovered over the last week and a half that, like, when I don't have my meds, I'm super lethargic.
Yeah, that happens.
Yeah.
Coffee.
No, coffee doesn't help.
More coffee.
Like, I think I would need to, like, get my Mio Energy or something like that, but even then, that's probably not going to help either, because I also have the type of ADHD where sometimes caffeine will knock me the fuck out.
Yeah, why do you think Critter and I drink energy drinks?
That's what I do normally, is energy drink shit. But sometimes I have to be careful with what energy drinks I do as well, because the same thing will happen with energy drinks.
Yeah, some of them have brutal crashes.
Yeah, like Monster. I can't do Monster Energy.
Because it sucks.
That's why I do my
And it
Beaver
makes
Buzz.
me crash.
Well, so we've gone over kind of what you like. What do you think could be done differently?
I think that would have to be like a whole it's a situational basis thing, because like there are things that could be done differently in some situations, and then things that could be done differently in others. But it's, no matter how you look at it, it's always going to be a constant figure it out as you go process when it comes to storytelling in a TTRPG setting. especially when you're doing more so of a mind's eye theater setup instead of like having a physical map or even just like a digital 3D map or some shit like that.
Yeah, I think a lot of like the negatives that we've encountered could be qualified more as growing pains
Fair.
than, and generally speaking, I think whenever we have hit something where like that did not go smoothly, you're usually, I think, partially because we do that after game check-in as well, where we can all kind of like um, decompress, reassess, all that kind of stuff. I find that being able to do that after session can be really helpful in smoothing out those that could have gone better and keeping it from happening again. And I think
Yeah.
we've been pretty good at being aware that those issues arise and getting to them right when they happen instead of letting it fester or get worse or something.
Also, like the before campaign consent forms, those have been helpful.
Yeah, so I've started using, actually with VTM, I started using a consent form and checklist. And what this does is it allows my players to have a chance to express to me areas that are okay for them, areas that are tread carefully, and areas that are fuck no.
Yeah.
We use a red, yellow, green, yellow, red system. Green is go, yellow is caution, red is no. And the writers, if we are coming up against something that, or if we're looking at putting something in that's possibly contentious or possibly gonna have issues, it allows us a chance to sit down and review our players' consent sheets and be like, okay, this person isn't cool with that. Let's check in with them and find out the specifics of that situation so we can plan around it, which I will usually touch base and be like, what's the deal with this? What lines are we allowed to cross and what lines are we not allowed to cross? And I think that consent sheet has been so important, especially with some of the situations that I've thrown you guys in. For instance, the hospital, which again was a chapter that didn't go so well, but we're improving on it, allowed me to avoid a lot of pitfalls because when you're talking about a haunted hospital, yeah, spoiler alert, end of season 2 includes a haunted hospital. You guys, depending on how I edit it, should enjoy that, I'm hoping. Haunted Hospital could have gone so much worse, especially considering it was based off of Silent Hill. That was the inspiration for it.
It should be called Horror Hospital.
I might actually
like General Hospital.
Might actually keep that as a title. I don't know yet.
Yeah, Hospital of Horrors or Horror Hospital, like General Hospital, but with horror.
Yeah.
Resident Hospital.
I also do, for those of you that aren't there, I also do a check-in after each episode. So while we're still up on stage, I give my players a chance to offer feedback, criticisms, critiques, and to check in. It's basically a debrief session. It gives them a chance to express how they're feeling and for us to chat about it briefly. With the understanding that if anything major needs to be addressed, my DMs are open behind the scenes.
Yeah, like, and like, I don't want to, I don't want to make it seem like I'm kissing ass or anything like that. It's just like, generally speaking, we don't run into too many problems, and when we do, we address them right away. So, it's hard to really pinpoint because it's a continuously evolving thing.
I do have to say, I continue to be absolutely amazed that you guys put that level of trust in me, because we are playing a game that is going to be dealing, especially with the phase of storytelling that I'm in right now, we're going to be dealing with some really heavy topics, and we have dealt with some really heavy topics, and we will continue to deal with those because there's a lot of shit right now that I want to make commentary on, that I want to talk about, that I want ideas, thoughts, concepts that I want to explore through that storytelling, right? As storytelling has done all throughout the ages. The level of trust that's been placed in me by the players continues to amaze me. because that shows a level of trust that not a lot of people have these days. I think the knowledge that you're going to be stepping into a situation that you may not necessarily agree with or be okay with, but knowing that in the end everything will be okay.
Yeah.
Oof.
Poor dragon. Stop it. You're going to make me yawn.
I'm sorry. I'm also remembering I may have like a lecture I need to attend to today too, at like 1 p.m. my time.
Good luck with that. That's soon, isn't it? That's in like
Yeah.
20 minutes.
Yeah, I'm just double checking when that's supposed to be. Anyway, keep going while I do that.
You're good.
But yeah, no, I think especially when it comes to like this current campaign and everything else, it's moving at a good pace. We're growing as a coterie. We're getting to know each other better as players. I think the less experienced players are starting to get the groove. And I think the most important thing for things like that is being able to do that separation between player and character.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's been some people's biggest struggles. And I think like that's where the most friction can happen. But so far, I think you've done a pretty good job of being aware that that's an issue.
Oh yeah.
I've had so many D&D campaigns fall apart because of that shit, because of that lack of awareness. It is something that I try to build in. Even with the Chaos crew, there was some of that, and I think is what caused that to stagnate. And one of the things that I've taken from the Chaos crew, and I'm going to use moving forward, both for D&D and for VTM, is more in-depth involvement in player arcs, which I'm in the process of crafting a form right now that will eventually be sent out to the players to find out what you guys want to include, what ideas and topics you guys want to explore, what possible things you want for your characters, effectively, as we try and evolve and as I try and grow as a storyteller.
Demon arts.
Pardon?
Demon arts.
Demon arts. What?
Well, I mean, if you guys just to give you guys kind of an idea, like my office here, I'm in what used to be the dining room of our apartment. I kind of took over the dining room and made this my little area. But if you look right next to me, and keep in mind, I'm going to show you something here off camera. This area it might look like a mess. There's a method to my madness here, but most of these books are all horror based. They always sit right next to my workspace, right? I can just reach over, I can grab one, I can read, and I plan on actually taking a couple when we go on vacation. Speaking of which, I'll be gone for a couple weeks in December, or for a week in December, or something like that. So we're gonna have to figure something out for that. As an Spacey Kitten, as an audience member, I love the flow and surprises that come up. Tell me more about that. I'm interested to know from the audience perspective too, because you guys are literally along for the ride and have no control at all how this story turns out.
You're just watching the chaos.
You are watching the chaos. You are watching the players go, "Oh shit, it's a what was it? If it isn't a consequence for my own actions, for the players, here comes a consequence.
Fucking consequence. They're chasing me right now.
Yeah, right. So you guys are literally just along for the ride, and I want to know what you guys think. That's huge for me. I don't get feedback from the audience as much as I probably should. I love watching and listening more than watching a movie. Now that's interesting. Do tell. Why is that? That's intriguing to me, because as somebody who loves movies, who loves storytelling, and who specifically loves movies, movies are a comfort thing for me. I will usually take a movie over a TV show or an audio drama 99% of the time. For me, it's a way to sit back, relax, and blow off steam and just forget about the world. But the fact that somebody will sit there and watch me literally bullshit my way through things, I can't predict what the players will do.
Right.
Interesting. So for you, it's that level of unpredictability. You don't know. You literally don't know what's going to happen next. Does that add thrill and excitement? Or is that just something that keeps you entertained? Because I know there's certain things that my players have done that have like kept me on the edge of my seat, even as the storyteller have kept me on the edge of my seat. I'm like, oh, are they actually going to go for it? Are they actually going to lean into the darkness and go for it? Like, I've literally been here on the edge of my seat a couple of times. It's been great. Specifically, I think it was episode 7 of part 1 when Elizabeth completely embraced her inner beast for the first time, trying to rescue Lydia.
Oh, yeah.
And
You
was
guys are
just
gonna
like,
love it.
we're doing it, we're going for it. And I was like, is she actually going to go for it? And yeah, she
She
did.
did such a great job.
Oh, yeah, she did.
She was amazing.
And what I can't wait to see is what it's going to take for Val to go nuclear and what that's going to be like.
Oh my god, that's going to be horrendously terrifying. I can tell you that.
There isn't
I
one-
have some things in that arsenal that are just waiting. Just waiting.
There isn't one person telling a story. You have so many different things that can happen because there are so many different personalities, and yeah, that all kind of meshes into its own little flavor. The other thing, for me at least, is this group isn't afraid to touch on darker topics. It's like I talked about in our debrief a couple of weeks ago. Stories like this, touching on darker topics and themes, can be extremely therapeutic, and it can be extremely healing for a lot of people because there is a lot of trauma in the world these days. It gives us the ability to confront ideas and thoughts that we don't normally get to confront, and it gives us the ability to come to terms with some of those ideas and thoughts and to deal with them in a more of a safe environment. And we don't shy away from the darkness, right? As I want to say, there's beauty in the darkness, but it gives us a chance to embrace that almost. So I think
Yeah, I definitely.
Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. I was going to say that's probably been one of the biggest draws when it comes to VTM is that darker aspect, because I mean, generally speaking, we play TTRPGs to it's an escapism, right? It's to relax. Generally speaking, I don't like drama in my, like I don't like angst and drama in my relaxation. And I think a lot of people confuse like horror and like suspense with that other category.
Stress, anxiety.
Yeah.
Like, there are horror pieces and like scary shit that will contribute to the anxiety, the stress. But then there's like those of us who enjoy a good horror film and find relaxation in watching that shit because it's like, hey, we're able to disassociate for a little bit, understand that while watching this, it's not actually happening to us. We get to watch it happen to someone else for a change.
I mean, yeah, there's definitely that, but I think that's I think where VTM excels, because everything else, especially when it comes to D&D, blah blah blah, like you have your chaotic players that try and fuck shit up and kill the hobos, and we've all played that party that turns into just a bunch of murder hobos that wander around to get loot. But
Yes.
most of the time, players are striving to be good. It's about righting the wrongs, whether they're personal or otherwise.
Yeah.
Whereas this can have those aspects, but it's definitely got a darker flavor.
VTM, VTM is very much you are monsters. Don't forget that. Like, you could lose control at any minute, right? And it's about finding that balance. And one of the things that I'm adding into this, or I'm looking at injecting into this, is a theme that I've been wanting to play with for a while. And you're going to be starting those of you that follow me on all of my platforms, you're gonna start to be seeing that, or you're gonna be starting to see that on multiple fronts.
Oh, real quick, I actually do have a Zoom meeting in 10 minutes that I have to hop on to, so I'm going to have to hop off here for now.
We're gonna be wrapping up here in a moment.
Okay.
You're going to be starting to see a lot of these themes come through in a lot of my projects. And the major theme for that is going to be, where does that line between humanity and monstrous come into play? Where is that definitive line? Like, what does it mean to be human? What does it mean to be a monster? Can you be a monster and still retain your humanity? Can you, do the humane thing in a world full of evil? What does it take for you to cross that line? How far can you be pushed before you finally just give in?
Yeah.
Will you hesitate to rip a key out of a nun?
Right? Which they did. But
Yeah.
I wouldn't have, which is why you locked me in a room.
But if you look at it, they did it for the betterment of everyone. They did it to save the entire ship from being sunk along with everyone on it. And oddly, made a mercy killing. She drained the nun to put the nun out of her misery, basically. That's where that line of humanity is. That was the humane thing to do in that situation.
And
when you are given two shitty situations, how do you justify taking the better one?
Yeah. And I thought that played out really well. Definitely you guys made the right call on that one. Like, Val would have just...
Yep.
It would, yeah.
And, just as a side note before we wrap up here, because you weren't there when I talked about this, Dragon, Dee would have actually been locked up with Val. And we chose that we chose that for a very specific reason, if you had been there.
Why?
Because Dee tends to cling on to humanity more than most. And
she
to
does.
sit there and be helpless while a nun is cut open and a key is extracted and the nun is essentially killed would have torn Dee apart, feeling completely helpless and unable to do anything from what we have seen thus far.
Well, here's the thing, though. The last time Dee was in there was a similar situation that Dee was in with the retired hunter.
Yep.
However, like, it was a one-on-one between the two.
Yes.
And, the hunter was able to see, hey, while she's a vampire, she's very humanitarian for a vampire. What the fuck?
Which, again, being unable to do anything, literally having your hands tied behind your back and the inability to literally do anything about it as you literally sit there and watch, I think would have hit Dee a little hard.
Character growth.
Right?
I will say it was beautiful. It was brilliant character growth for Audley. Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Which is why she only took one stain. And there may be fallout from that later on, but, that's for the writers to decide. But these are things you're going to be seeing throughout a lot of my storytelling. These are thoughts and ideas that we're going to explore, and we're going to basically embrace the beauty within the darkness. That being said, this is a good place to wrap this discussion up, I think, because we are on a time crunch. So I want to thank you guys for joining me today. I want to thank the audience for being here. Thanks for listening to, I guess, us just talking about storytelling and passion and world building and all of that jazz and just nerding out for a bit. For the Idiot Book Nook, my name is Blazewing.
I am the Reading Dragon.
I'm British High.
And we'll see you next episode. That might be next week. That might be the week after. But we'll see how things go. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.